pulls up, three-pointer. Bang! Bang! It's good! Wins the game at the buzzer!
Yo, what is up? Welcome to the Pro Hop. Yes, we are 67, 68 games into the season, and this is the second or third episode. I've been so focused on the NFL. I've been so focused on wrestling, but it was time for me to start talking basketball because the playoffs is around the corner. Devin, I don't know where he at. He was supposed to be here. Aaron was supposed to be here, but I have a debut of a brother of mine since I had a hairline, and that's my boy Corey out there in the Bay Area. I'm so happy that he could get on here so we could talk. Bro, if y'all didn't know, as a coach, he got his AAU trophy. I want you to talk about that real quick before we get into these topics.
Oh yeah, man. So like Fred said, been rocking with Fred for a long time. I live out in the Bay Area, so I've been coaching actually for like 9 years. But my son, who's 8 years old, just started his own. I just started coaching his AAU team, so we had our first tournament last weekend. 9 and unders. We went 2-0, undefeated. 4-team tournament. Went to win the first championship, which is like huge feat because I mean, I played a lot of years at AAU. I've coached AAU for 8 years. I've never won. I've never gotten all the way to the end and got some hardware. So this is the first time. So I was pretty excited about that. Appreciate it.
It's good too because I'm not on social media right now because I gave it up for Lent. But when I was watching your stories or even Heidi's stories about Junior out there, I'm like, man, it's just like Corey when he's playing. I'm like, man, this is crazy just watching it because jump shot almost looks like yours. I'm like, bro, it's so eerie similar. All right, so
Yeah.
we're gonna go into this. We're talking NBA right now. We've missed a lot for this channel, so I want to catch up. We want to talk about trades, and there's no bigger trade than the one I'm about to bring up. The Suns landing Kevin Durant. Now, Kevin Durant, T.J. Warren coming from the Nets, giving up McCall Bridges, Cameron Jordan, and a plethora of picks within 2003 all the way, or 2023 all the way down to 2029. Again, he's back in the Pacific Division, but he's not wearing blue and gold. He's out there wearing that purple and orange. How do you feel about this trade? It really hasn't started yet, but how do you feel about it?
So first of all, I think anybody who can acquire Kevin Durant is going to give up whatever they can to get him. He's he's a superstar, right? Like there's only a handful of superstars in the NBA. There's only a handful of guys that are solidified Hall of Famers,
Oh,
whether they want a championship or not. But that guy, right? Like, and Kevin Durant is that guy, right? Like he's been hurt a little bit, banged up the last few seasons, but he's been that guy. The other thing I want to call is like T.J. Warren. There was a time when T.J. Warren dropped like 61 in the game. Like
yeah,
T.J.
the
Warren is
bubble.
not. Yeah, he's no scrub either, right? So I think the Suns getting those two guys was definitely something that they needed. I mean, like if we're just honest about the Suns overall, things have gotten stale from them for them over the last 3 years, right? Like since they went up against the Bucks, lost against the Bucks. So that's what 2 years ago. And then the Warriors go on to win in this last year. So I feel like they definitely needed something to put them over the top, right? And the efficiency in which Kevin Durant is able to score is really where I think it's at, right? Because you have scoring with Booker, but he's not as efficient of a player as you need during the playoff time, right? Like you can win 50, 60 games maybe in the season riding him. But then like even to point out his Booker has been hurt, banged up the last couple of seasons, whether it's a hamstring or a groin. And so your window's closing, right? Now, what I will say, especially now, like they say hindsight is 2020, right? You look back and you see like it. It begs me to ask the question: is were they holding Mikal Bridges back? Like he gets to the Nets and the boy is balling.
What does he
The
do? He goes,
boy,
he does a little thing.
I don't. Listen, I gotta look up his stats from the last couple of weeks because he's good. Like he's and then like I think the other thing to highlight before we go too far in is just to highlight that Villanova team. Think about all the NBA talent that came from that championship Villanova team. You got Brunson, you got Hart, You got DiVincenzo, who's doing this thing with the Warriors right now, and then you got Mikal Bridges. So overall, I think that the trade worked out best for both parties, right? Like if we evaluate who won that trade, I think that the Nets won the trade in the long haul, and I think that the Suns won the trade in the immediate future. Now, do I think that this trade it makes the Suns the favorites? I don't think I would say that with the lack of depth that the Suns have now, right? Um, pair that with the lack of ability to rebuild through the draft the next few years with all the picks that they gave away, right? Because as your players get better, right, especially this whole DeAndre Ayton situation, right? Like I think that's something that was a like I would have kept if I was on the Suns front office, I would have did everything I do to I anything I could to keep Bridges, right? I would have thrown Ayton in the deal. I would have gotten rid of Ayton. I would have, like I would have done whatever I needed to do to keep Bridges. He's that win. Every team needs that 3 and D guy. Like they need that guy. Like that's what every championship team has. Like they had that with the Bucks did that with when they picked up Tucker and they needed that
Mm-hmm.
little extra defender. So I don't know if the Suns are my favorites necessarily, but there has to be like there's something to be said about the potency of their starting five. And if Kevin Durant and Booker can account for 50 to 75 points per game, that's pretty much it's worth every dollar. But I do think the Nets lucked out that they were able to get rid of both KD and Kyrie and get some stuff in return that helps them A, stay relevant, and B, look promising moving forward.
Future is bright with them. I do like both. I like Cam Johnson too. I really like that kid as well. But the picks, when you look at it, one, two, three, four future, five future first round picks in 2 seconds. That's it's beyond crazy. But do I think the Suns are the a contender? Yes. Do I think they're gonna win the ring? Maybe not. The West is open though. That's one thing I will tell you. It's really open this year. It's rare to say that the West is open. But one thing I will say is you said something that's going to caveat to this next trade. You always talk about 3 and Ds and how important it is. You brought up PJ Tucker when he went to the Bucks, but we're also going to talk about another 3 and D guy that went to the Bucks in Jay Crowder. Getting traded there. Pacers received George Hill, Serge Ibaka, and Jordan Nwora with three future second round picks and cash considerations. To me, for Jay Crowder at this time, even though he's respected for his 3 and D, but for me, that's a lot of capital to give away to the Bucks. I mean, to the Pacers for that player that maybe is done after this year. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think the Bucks had a plethora of talent even before they made this trade, right? Like I mean we watched the Bucks play yesterday and they played the Warriors and the Warriors came back and got that dub.
Steph
Um
like crazy.
yeah. But Jay Crowder didn't play very much. And I Joe Ingles is coming off of injury. Um they also have I mean they got Portis. I just feel like especially when Giannis gets back, that front court, like everybody but their guards, they're pretty stacked. Like they're I think they were more dumping some talent off to save them some money in the future. If I'm being honest, like I know this trade looks that will come to fruition this year, but I don't think the Bucks are going to use Jay Crowder that much. Just to be totally honest, I think that getting rid of Nwora, who's going to coming up off his rookie contract, going to be due for some money. You're going to have to make a decision with him. So just getting uh, some of those guys off the books because I mean they're all in with Giannis, right? They're all in on Giannis. They're all in on Drew Holiday, and like I feel like they just the pieces that they put around those two guys are always pretty talented. So I just don't see Jay Crowder being a big factor in the situation. And let's be honest, George Hill's he's done. He's over the hill,
Yeah.
right? Like it's like I think they're just salary dumping some guys in different places just to make things work, and that's just kind of the way I see it.
Yeah, the Bucks are going to be the Bucks. I agree. One thing about it, do they really actually need him right away? Probably not. But it's always good to have him on your bench. Uh, he's a vet. He's proven everywhere he's gone. It's another good defender to get someone tired. Like that East is really stacked, and you just want to make sure that your bench is in depth with all that as well. You mentioned someone else from the Nets. You talked about uh, Kevin Durant. Now we're going to talk about the Mavericks acquiring Kyrie Irving. They also got Markieff Morris. In return, the Nets get Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, a first round and two future second rounds. I tell you like this, Spencer Dinwiddie is so underrated. I hate how they can keep moving him around like he's some joke. Like I really wish he was with us. Dorian Finney-Smith, shout out to my boy Ricks. That's his homeboy. Uh, he's also a really good pick for the Nets. So the Nets get some proven like vets to come in. I ain't saying all stars or anything, but hey, they got something out of this. Kyrie Irving, Luca, that was a question for me so far. It looks okay, but I want to see what you think about this Dallas Mavericks team moving forward, having one of the twins and Kyrie Irving.
I think hands down, top two, top three front court in the NBA, right? When you talk about Kyrie and Luca, talk about potential, but you also talk about usage, right? Like you talk about the amount that guys need to have the ball in their hands in order to do what they do best, right? And so I do think that first I want to highlight I hate how the Brooklyn and everybody has treated Spencer Dinwiddie since like I hate that his career trajectory the last like couple times that he's been traded has been solely dependent on Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. I hate how that like if you think about it, right? Like he was in a Nets uniform. He got traded because they had to make room for Kevin Durant. And now Kevin Durant wants to leave and then Kyrie wants to leave and he gets traded back because those guys don't want to be there anymore. So I'm happy for him because I know that he wanted to go back to the Nets. I know his family's there. Kids, he's got kids to go to school there. I think I heard on a podcast before. So I'm happy that he's the guy, right? Like I think he's the number one. Do I think he is a star that you need in order to put you over the top? No, but he's the reason why the culture was built that the way it was in order for guys to want to go there in the first place. If you think about before they got all these superstars to want to come there, it's because they had Karis LeVert, they had Dinwiddie, and Joe Harris, and these guys were playing really good basketball and made a run into the playoffs, right? Like, and then everyone talked about the Nets culture. Then they traded everybody who made that culture away. So, that's one thing to highlight. But as far as the Mavericks, Mavericks got to get done this year, right? Like Kyrie hasn't signed an extension. Like it's a lot to go all in on a guy or two guys, right? Markieff Morris is not a bad player to have when you need, especially the Mavs are missing some toughness. Like I think on defense, that's what they really need is some toughness. Um, but I mean, you're picking up Kyrie as another guy who doesn't play defense, right? So you got your two guys in the front court that are your best players are also your defensive liabilities. So it's can they to me can they get into the playoffs and maybe win a series? Maybe because those two guys are that good. But I don't see them going to the Western Conference Finals. I don't see them going to the finals. I just don't see it. And then on top of it, like I wouldn't have leveraged as much to get Kyrie without him getting an extension, right? Like my caveat to this would have been, we're willing to trade this for you and let's get you to the Mavs, but I at least want a 1 year, 2 year extension. Like I want at least want to know that you're here for the next year or so, because if we don't get it done this year, like we may need to tinker things just a little bit just to get us over the top. And like you might lose him to LA. Like then what did you
I was
get? You
gonna
got it. You
ask
got
where you see him, and that was where I saw him too, going to the Lakers.
yeah, yeah. I as much as I would hate to see him in a Laker uniform because I think him and LeBron is more potent, right? And then if you pair him, LeBron, and AD, now you really got something because I don't think AD is not a type of player that needs the ball in his hands. LeBron trusts Kyrie enough and knows that the formula for winning with Kyrie is sharing the ball with him, and then the fact that he could trust Kyrie to handle the ball when he's all out. And then that white dude, Austin Reeves, that dude's killing. That dude, like, they got some players over there. They're and the trade that they made, like to to get rid of to get Mo Bamba and to pull in, to get rid of Westbrook, like that was for the better for sure. But everything's championship or bust, right? Like if you think about it, right? Like is what you did good enough to win you a championship? And I think that for both the Mavs and the Lakers case, it wasn't enough, not yet.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I'm gonna talk about this Lakers, Timberwolves, and Jazz 3-team trade because to me the Lakers are like with this trade or not. To me, they still stay at where they're at now. I don't see no like progression from this. I think they stay in a 9-10 seed. I don't see them getting no further than that. But the Lakers receive D'Lo back, Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt. The T Wolves get what was it? Nikhil Alexander Walker, Mike Conley, and a couple picks. And the Jazz received Russell Westbrook and our boy JTA, Juan Toscano Anderson, and Damian Jones. Shout out to another former Warrior and a first round pick. And we all know Russell Westbrook. We'll talk about this later when he got into this buyout. That's the next subject. But to me, like I said, when I look at this, great. You got D'Lo back. He's a proven role player, borderline star, right? All star or whatnot. Malik Beasley's been proven. Another big and Jared Vanderbilt. But to me, with Mo Bamba also coming in, to me they're just where they're at. Like I don't see no like, oh shit, this is the team to watch. Of course, you got LeBron and AD. Of course, you're gonna see that because two superstars in the NBA will carry you, just like you said about Kyrie and Luca. They can do something like they might win a series or the play-in tournament. But to me, it's just they're still at the same spot. Like I don't see no progression into this team.
Yeah, the West is tough, right? Like we know the West is just super stacked this year. Everything's really close. I think there's only a game or two that decides like 5 all the way down to like 8 or 9 and 10,
Yeah,
right? So I think that I mean you could be right, but I think I, it's all based on health, right? Like when you have a player who's been playing in the league for 20 years, like LeBron has, and then you have AD who's seemingly Mr. Glass, right? Like what's crazy to me is like this dude gets hit in the face more than anybody else. Did he just get like he just seems to be accident prone, injury prone. So um I think that I think the sky's the limit when you have LeBron James on your team, right? Like I don't want to be a LeBron James hater. Like I've I thought, oh, LeBron James has respect, right? Like he is good, he is great. Now, not everybody can play next to LeBron James. Like the gravity that him as a superstar that he demands, not everybody is going to be conducive in that environment. Like an example, right? Like Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma won a championship with them, right? But in the bubble, and I don't think that you got the best basketball out of Kyle Kuzma when he was alongside LeBron James, right? Then you got like even Lonzo Ball, right? Like you got Brandon Ingram. You got a bunch of guys who played next to LeBron James that when LeBron James had those moments to play with them, they weren't able to deliver. And that's because LeBron James plays best with specific type of players. He needs a knockdown shooter. He needs a guy who can go get a bucket and make a shot when LeBron needs to rest. And then all the rest of the time, you have to be willing to not even touch the basketball. And then when your time is to come shoot and just catch and shoot. And so I don't I don't know. Like I think LeBron being hurt has been the big thing, right? Like the moment he passed, it seemed like the moment he passed Kareem, he's been hurt ever since that moment. Like he didn't finish that game. Like to me, that game is tarnished because even though you passed Kareem, you took 30 minutes to celebrate it. You go on to lose to the Thunder, like one of the worst teams in the West. Um, so it's I think the sky's the limit for them if LeBron can play like at the level we're used to seeing LeBron play in the playoffs. And if Anthony Davis can stay healthy, if Anthony Davis can't stay healthy, LeBron can't do it by himself. He needs Davis, and it, I almost there's times like even though they won in the bubble, there's times when I watch them play, and it looks like the middle is too clogged up for both of them, right? Like it looks like it's hard for LeBron to maneuver, it's hard for AD to maneuver because they both want to play the game from the inside out. And so I think I give them credit for winning the championship, the bubble and the championship, but at the same time, he didn't go to the Lakers to win one championship. That trade wasn't made to just win a bubble championship, and they got to make something with the guys they got. So I think that the players that they got back in these trades are way fit the mold a little bit better. So I think that Vanderbilt, I think that Malik Beasley, those are going to be big time minute guys who are going to step into in the lineup and play well. But they're also play a similar position as LeBron James, right? So there's going to be times that they're not on the floor, and so I think they can carry the bench a decent amount, but I don't see them getting to the Western Conference Finals. I can see them winning maybe the play-in tournament and then getting bounced in the first round, especially if they have to play like the Nuggets the first round or Sacramento. I mean, I think Sacramento's a legit team, so I think Sacramento can take them out if they have to play them. But I could also see the greatness of LeBron and AD overcoming a young Sacramento team in the first round too.
I see that as well. So this is going to change it up. All right. We talked about the Westbrook trade. We talked about all this, all the trades that we did, but there's also something that happens after that. If you didn't execute a trade, we also get into the buyout market. So a lot of these trades that happen, some of these players are not staying there. For example, Goran Dragic, he was waived by Chicago, and now where is he going? To solidify more depth in the bench of the Bucks. You got Westbrook leaving and buying out from Utah. Everyone knew he wasn't going to play for Utah. He had so much beef with the fans there. We already knew that. Westbrook signs with the Clippers. Patrick Beverly go back home to the Bulls. Kevin Love. I don't understand this one. I want to talk about this one real quick, and then we can talk about the other ones. I don't get why you go to the Heat. Why do you go to the Heat? Out of all the teams you could have chose, all the contenders, why choose Miami? Were you trying to like say this is my retirement? I'm just gonna chill on South Beach, or like, because to me the Heat aren't. That's not a contending team to me. Like they don't scream, oh, Kevin Love solidifies this team. No, but if he goes to like Denver, if he goes to Dallas, if he goes solidifies the Suns or even the Warriors, like you add that experience. Man, everyone thought he was going to the Lakers. I thought that would have been a solid thing because what you said, clogging the lanes. He doesn't clog lanes. So it's like I saw Kevin Love and I'm thinking everything but the Heat. What you think about that one?
Um, so I try to like when I think about these things, like especially when we get like situation where we don't know like why the hell a player made this decision. I try to take a step back and look at the full lens of life, right? Like he's been in fucking Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah,
Like,
okay, touche, touche.
yeah, who can I cuss? Okay to cuss over here?
Yeah,
Who the fuck wants to stay in Cleveland, Ohio, as long as he did, right? Right. Then on top of it, you got to understand that he's been dealing with very young teams the last few years. Like since LeBron has exited, this has been a team of young guys who do things their way. And as much as Kevin Love may still have to offer, which I don't know what he does, he's still an older guy, right? Like he's our age, right? Like
yeah.
not 34 years old. He's at the tail end of his career. I think he wanted to go to an organization that did things professionally. And we all know how Dan Gilbert was when he lost LeBron James the first time, one of the most unprofessional GMs in the league to do something like that, right? Write a letter about how you hated him and then take him back. Um, and then on top of it, right, it's just the weather, man. Like, who doesn't want to be in Miami, right?
That's true.
Like because the other thing too is he comes out west. He, I think the big like his power forward position only one team in the West could really use him in a way where his strengths would be perfect, and I think it would have been the Warriors, right?
Yes.
But I think if he joins the Warriors, though, especially being a Cavalier that beat us and got in a championship with us, I don't know that. I think that he's a little bit old school. I think maybe he's never going to sign with the Warriors. Like it doesn't matter how good of an offer it is. Like he hates the Warriors, right? Like he doesn't want to be seen as joining on that bandwagon. So I think he probably is good friends with Jimmy Butler. I think he probably respects Pat Riley and he respects the traditions that are going to be carried. And he's not playing very much. Like he's playing behind Adebayo. Like he's not going to be a starter. So I just don't know what he has left in the tank. And it's a lot easier to get up every day and go to practice when you live in Miami than it
That
is
is
if you live cold.
That was a great point with the Cavaliers to Miami. Because think about where he was before Cavaliers. He was in Minnesota, so it makes all the sense. I get it in that spectrum,
And
or that aspect.
he grew up in Washington too, right? And that's like a cold place too, right? Like so going to Denver wasn't like, like I think if he was to play anywhere, I think he grew up in Seattle. But if he was to go anywhere up there, he'd probably go to Portland, but Portland's nowhere near ready for a
Yeah, yeah,
championship
yeah,
run.
yeah, yeah.
I I think if he looked at the status, like the way things are in the East, I think he has a better shot of making an impact in the playoffs and making a long run with a team that has no ego. And there's no one player on the Heat that has a big ego. Like everybody shares the ball.
Yeah, Pat Riley's the ego on that team. That's it. That's all you need. So we're gonna talk about two teams. We're gonna talk about the Denver Nuggets, who are number one right now, and the Phoenix Suns. They both get a buyout. They get Reggie Jackson to Denver. They get Terrence Ross to the Suns. Two people I love. I love watching when they got drafted. Two people I think can contribute right away. Terrence Ross to me, it like that's a not. You talk about someone that can shoot threes, athletic. I mean, he's up there in age, but at the same time, more depth for the Suns, more depth for the Nuggets. How do you feel about those two?
Who went to the Nuggets again?
Reggie Jackson.
Oh man, is he playing? I haven't seen a.
So ain't much, but at the same time, I've seen him really active when he is right, and especially when the playoffs come, they're gonna need someone like that. He's a dog. You know what I mean? Like he's a straight dog, and he gave people problems in the playoffs before.
Yeah, he is, but I just that that mentality, that that doggedness that he has is not necessary in all places. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just I don't know if that fits Denver's personality. Now, like he can definitely contribute, right? Like I feel like he got a bad rap for the Clippers, even though he was probably one of the ones that was keeping the Clippers afloat during
Facts.
all of this like load management with Kawhi and PG being out, and so I mean I think Clippers fumbled on this one. I think the Clippers just dropped the ball on this one. I think that them moving on to Westbrook from Reggie Jackson, like that was not smart. That's not what you need. That's not what you want. Reggie Jackson's a team guy. Plays defense. Um, so the only way I can see the reason why it being done is maybe to make salary cap space. That's the only thing I can see happening. But as far as what he offers to the Nuggets, I mean, he like sure, like the Nuggets have always been atop of the standings, right? Like the question is, can they finish? Can they win a playoff series over and over and over and get to the end? And last year they couldn't beat the Warriors, right? Like it's I don't know that adding another role player is going to be what you need as much as you just need your stars to step up and be stars. If Jamal Murray can play at a level that he played at before he tore his ACL, then you probably got something. But if he can't, you're going to need Michael Porter Jr. to step up and play at a level at a top level that he can play at. You're going to need Kentavious Caldwell Pope. I think is the main guy that changes their trajectory this year. I don't think it's Reggie Jackson. I think it's Aaron Gordon and Kentavious Caldwell Pope that's going to put this team over the top or not when they get to the playoffs.
I like it. Now that we're talking about playoffs, this is what we're gonna switch into. All right, a lot of the buyouts were okay, but right now I want to talk about as of today how the seedings are. And there's one particular matchup I like and hope it happens, but I'll talk about that later. So in the first round, if the play-in is already done, right? You have the Milwaukee Bucks and the Atlanta Hawks. When you look at I think this is a sweep. I don't know about you. I'm not a big fan. Shout out to my boy Thorne. You will never meet another Atlanta fan like this guy. He will cape for even the MLS team. He loves his teams and he'll die on that hill. And I respect that a lot. But at the same time, sometimes you gotta be real. Um, Atlanta against Milwaukee. What do you see in that? If the playoffs happen today?
Yeah. I mean, I think I'd say gentleman's sweep. I'd say 4-1. I think Quinn Snyder has the Hawks playing a little bit more inspired in basketball right now. They needed a new voice, and so with Nate Thurman out and you get Quinn Snyder stepping in, I think you got a kind of a reinvigorated team. They have talent. I don't think that they're bad. They're just young. I think that their future is based on the leadership of a guy who's not mature enough to lead, right? Like I don't think that Trae Young is he's a star, but he's not a leader. He's just not that guy that says, "Hey guys, get on my back and I'm gonna take you." And I mean, it's just the way that even you can see even in the way that he's dealt with some of the things, like even the way that he was going, him and the coach were going at it, right? And so the fact that they were going at it and the way that he handled those situations, I think there were better ways to do it. And I think like a more man who, I don't want to say man, I'm not calling him less of a man, somebody who's mature enough to understand that you have other guys on the team and that how you do those things, how you how you represent yourself and how you do business as an NBA player will speak volumes to the rest of the team. So yeah, I 4-1. I give it to the Bucks. I do think the Hawks have something, and they need to build around Murray. I like as much as people don't want to get rid of Trae Young. I think that Trae Young is probably at his peak of what you can get for him, and so if you can get him to a team that needs a guard to with prolific scoring, and you can turn him into another guard that's a little bit bigger who can D up and knock down a three. I think that if you could turn if you could turn Trae Young into Bane, I think Hawks are better off.
Hmm.
You know, like a guy who doesn't need the ball in his hands so much, and let DeJounte kind of cook, and then every time that ball is getting kicked out, you can make a shot. But I think the Hawks have some organizational issues that they just need to work out. It just seems like they're getting pulled in different directions. I don't want to say it's tumultuous. I want to say more it's they all need to get on the same page and move in a direction. And right now they're kind of just stagnant. So I would take the Bucks
Yes. The
in 5.
problem the problem with the Hawks is this. Their general manager was the Warriors' assistant general manager at the time. So what do you think an assistant general manager who watched Steph Curry do all his things want out of Trae Young? That's the problem, is they're trying to make him Steph instead of what you're saying, make him the best him or even transition him to something else different, but don't try to compare him to one of the greatest of all time when it comes to that legacy. Like that's the problem I told my boy Thorne about. It's like, bro, you inherited a Golden State Warrior front office person. He's trying to expect that. Look at how he drafted Hunter and Huter, however you say it, Herter. Those two were trying. He tried to make them into Harrison Barnes and Klay Thompson when he drafted them. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like you got John Collins, who he was trying to make like Draymond Green. John Collins is like more talented, but he's not. He doesn't have the IQ of Draymond, right? But he was trying to mirror the Warriors' success by getting people that were wish app versions, if you will. That's the part. That's the problem I see with the Hawks is they're not trying to find their identity. They're trying to copy an identity.
Yeah, and the thing with trying to replicate what another team does when they have a guy like Steph Curry is what makes Steph Curry so good is not how great he is all the time, but it's how unselfish he is. It's his ability to give up the ball, run around, go find another spot, and then go get it. Um, and also it's just not it's just not that's not how that's not sustainable. Like you can't look to hit on a player like the Warriors hit on Steph Curry. It's you just can't. Like not a lot of teams hit on their lottery picks in a way that you have a MVP, and like that's just not everybody's that. And Trey's definitely not that. I just think he's a little more selfish than he is a team player.
Which is
And
the problem too, because think about it. You drafted Luca and traded for him. Just think about that too.
I mean, I that's the thing that comes to my mind the most is that you should have just stayed with Luca. Like if you'd have stayed with Luca, you'd have had you'd be better off. You'd be way better off. So and then Hunter's not bad. Like
He's not bad. He's
yeah,
not.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see what Quinn Snyder does with this group. Um, but I think we all know that Collins has to get out, right? Like we all like Collins been on trade talks for a long time. So I just think you build around DeJounte. You need to find you're missing Herter. Herter's shot making ability. They missed that. Now Herter's in the West in second place with Sacramento. And then they paid Bogdanovich too much money. Like he's just not that good to me. Like he's just not that good of a guard. Like could have got somebody else. Like KCP would have been a better person to go after, or um, even like remember we talked about dogs. They would be a team that needs like a Reggie Jackson. Like they like if you take Reggie, you put him in for Trae Young. I know that Reggie Jackson cannot score like Trae Young, but everybody else on your team is going to play better because they don't have to watch Reggie Jackson dribble the ball around until he decides to either throw you an alley oop or give you the ball for a wide open three. Like everyone needs to touch it. Like you need to move it around.
All right, so I'm gonna talk about this next one, and then after that, we'll just talk about the finals predictions. Before the playoffs even start. But I'm excited about this on the West Coast. You keep talking about this Sacramento team, but as of today, Sacramento would be playing the Golden State Warriors. I like what they made up there. I love Bro, Domantas Sabonis, that's one of my favorite players to watch, right? He's just a skillful big that reminds me of like a much more athletic Paul Gasol, right? Then of course, everyone knows how fast, what's his name, De'Aaron Fox is. They made a great team up there. You also got some DNA of the Warriors that tread up north, 2 hours from the Bay, right? This I think Sacramento has something, but I'll tell you like this. I don't think they get success in the playoffs. I think they're a first round bounce out, and especially if you're going to play against the defending world champs. I really feel like Steve Kerr versus his former assistant coach. I think he plays chess with him, similar to what Kyle Shanahan does with Matt McVay. You know what I mean? I feel that.
Yeah.
But I'm not. But I say if this was to happen, I say it's going to be a close 6 games, and I'm giving it, of course, to the Warriors. But at the same time, I don't want to take away from what Sacramento did this year. This is an amazing season for them. Good turnaround, everything like that. Domantas Sabonis trade and all that stuff. That was beautiful. Although I'm a Halliburton fan, that was the trade to make for them to have, where they're at second. They're like 39 and 26. That's impressive to me. Like if someone just out of nowhere just came back and watched NBA and you watch Sacramento Kings at second place in the West, you would think it's 2002. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
this is a crazy team. Go ahead and give me your thoughts about this.
So I just want to call this out. So I'm looking at the standings, and the Warriors would actually be playing the Grizzlies right now because the Warriors are 6, the Kings are
Yeah.
second. It'll
So
be
this is from a day ago. I had this prep for yesterday, but yeah.
that's how close, but that's how close things are, right? Like that's how close the West is. Like one day changes like who's playing who. Um, so I think the Kings. So if it goes as presently, if we go by yesterday, oh, let me start by this. If I go by today and it be Kings Timberwolves, I take the Kings over the Timberwolves because
Yes.
the Kings are a hustle team. The Kings play good offense and they hustle and they play hard. And that's why they're pretty good. And that's why they've won 40 games this year. And Mike Brown, coach of the year, hands down. De'Aaron Fox playing great. The thing that I think that changes things up is when you have an MVP caliber player on the team that you're playing against, right? So when the Kings play against the T Wolves don't have an MVP caliber player. They have great players. They don't have the guy who can just put you over the top,
They
right?
don't got him.
The Yeah, and the Warriors have him. They have him and have like a part-time him in Klay Thompson because like even though Klay is not going out there and he's not Steph Curry, right? Like let's just be honest, Klay is not Steph, and he can't do what Steph does. But Klay can go off for 30 and a quarter. Like that can happen. Um, I think there's that. I think ultimately the thing that I think that makes this the reason why I would take the Warriors as a favorite over the Kings is because the Warriors suck on the road. The Kings are not far enough away for it to be a road game. Like it's literally hour and a half, 2 hour drive from Chase Center to Golden One. So
Yeah.
this is just a this is just a field trip for the Warriors. The Warriors are going to suffer when they have to go somewhere like Denver or somewhere like Phoenix. The Warriors are going to suffer when they have to really travel on the road and deal with a road crowd. And I don't think the Sacramento Kings are it. That, and like you said earlier, I think there's levels to this shit, right? Like Mike Brown is good. Mike Brown's a great coach. He deserves Coach of the Year. The times that he has won and been successful, he's had LeBron James on his team.
Yeah.
So not going to say he's a great coach. And then even when he coached for the Warriors and he was interim, he had Steph Curry and he had it was a machine already. So I don't know. I don't think that Mike Brown is ready for the adjustments that Steve Kerr is going to make during playoffs. Now, I think they both know each other, but I think that Steve Kerr is going to know exactly what Mike Brown is going to do or going to want to do. And I think the Warriors take over. I think the Warriors have it right now 2-1 on the season series. I think there's one more game left to be played between them, and the Warriors have 2 wins. So, Kings Warriors. I'm taking the Dubs. I'm taking Curry and Clay in clutch moments. I'm gonna roll with the guys who have the most experience playing at a high level, and I'll be honest with you. I think the Warriors want the Kings. Like if you're Steve Kerr, right? Like, and you're at 6 right now. You're like, all right, I got to see how. Like, if I'm the Warrior, like, so I don't think they're in a bad place at number 6 against the Grizzlies because that's who they would play right now. But I think that them against the Kings would be perfect. They want to stay away from playing against the Suns or the Nuggets the first season. Like, you want to stay out of 8 and you want to stay out of like 5. I think we could take the Clippers, or I think the Warriors can take the Clippers. I think they can take the Grizzlies. I think they can take the Kings. And I think if any of those 3 teams is the route for us to get to the finals, we can take those teams out.
So you mentioned as of today, because what I'm reading is what, because we were supposed to do this yesterday. Um, you saying Golden State and Grizzlies? Do you not think, as a businessman, as the CEO of NBA, would you not want that to happen? Even though because of the history of the Grizzlies and the Warriors, that'd be crazy. I can't stand the Grizzlies, bro. Like I like their team a lot, but I just don't like that attitude they have, bro. It's like, bro, like chill. Like Uncle Shay even said it. You don't have to be gangster, bro. Like just play basketball. Why you always have to be like
Yeah,
that?
yeah. I don't think that. Well, I don't think that they want. I don't think that the president was his name. I don't think Silver necessarily cares what the Grizzlies do this season because I don't think John Morant's going to play another game this season. Um,
Mm.
I think that the Grizzlies winning still and like doing well um, plays worse for John Morant than right because he said I don't know if we're gonna go into this, but this whole situation is just ridiculous, right? Like me and you, like we come from places where we know folk who act up, you know what I'm saying, and like I know people who have to carry guns because they have to, but when you're an NBA player and you made it, like there's no excuse for any of this shit,
Leave
right?
that
Like
life away, man. Put that life
it,
away.
yeah, it's just no excuse, man. Like you can't tell me, and like the other thing too is about this is you can't tell me that you want to win a championship and you're all in on winning a championship if you are spending the amount of time and money that you are spending at a strip club. Like that, there's a time for that. It's called the off season, right?
Right.
And like you ain't focused if you are going out and doing all this stuff. So I don't think, yeah, I don't know. I know the Warriors can take the Grizzlies when come playoff time, with or without Ja. I think the Grizzlies are actually playing better basketball without Ja, like they did last season.
Yeah.
They just play a better style of basketball when Tyus Jones is in and the ball moves, right? And that's when you really get to see Dylan Brooks shine. And I hate Dylan Brooks because he's a Grizzly more than anything, right? Like if he was a Warrior, I'd love him. Like if he was the heir apparent to fill in for Draymond when Draymond was to retire, that would be like if I was to pick anybody that would be like mini Draymond, it's Dylan Brooks, right? Like it is that guy. Um, Now the mentality that you speak of, right? Like their personality, I think is all Dylan Brooks, right? Like I don't think Bane is like that. Um I don't think what's his name? Stevens, big dude, what's his name?
Yeah, Steven Adams.
Steven Adams. I don't think he's a bully, right? Like I think those guys just play ball. I think it's more John Morant. And even if you think about it, Ja plays on the court. Ja gives everybody a lot more respect than he did on his little Twitter post when he was talking shit with Draymond. And I think it's just mostly a Dylan Brooks and Draymond thing. But I also think it's kind of like boxing. As much as as much as they look like they hate each other before the fight, as soon as the fight's over, they both made money. They're giving each other hugs and kisses after
Mhm.
somebody just knocks, right? Like they just happy they was able to sell the fight. So I think it's all theatrics. I don't think it's not a rivalry to me. Like, like everyone says it's a rivalry or brings up like the bad blood. How is it bad blood? How is it a rivalry if the Warriors just win all the time? Like,
Right.
like I think it was more rivalry when they had Zebo. I think it was more rivalry when they
Mm.
had
The grit.
like Conley. Yeah, when they had Tony Allen. But the moment that those guys left, it's not a competition. Like Warriors win championships. That's all it's about.
So I'm about to move over to the next subject, but before I do that, I want a March 12th, 2023 prediction of the playoffs. Who do you think comes out of the West? Who do you think comes out of the East as currently structured, bar any injury right now? Because I'll go first, and then I want you to bring it up. But
Okay.
to me, I think this year Boston versus Denver, and I think Boston wins their next ring. I think Denver finally gets over the hump and wins the Western Conference Finals. And then I see Boston, who I think is a juggernaut right now. I think they really did well this offseason, getting who they got, and then solidifying their bench and making sure that team is solid. But Jason Tatum, one of my favorite players in the league, right, playing one hell of a year. Jalen Brown as his Robin has always been that guy. I think to me, Boston, Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals. Then you have Denver and Golden State, and I feel like Golden State won't have enough this time around because last year when they beat them, you got to think Jamal Murray wasn't there. You know what I mean? So they were hurt. Now this year, I just feel Golden State isn't that good as far as making it to the finals this year. They can make it to the Western Conference Finals, no doubt, off experience and off who we have. But I just think this year Denver finally makes it over the hump and they lose to Boston. 6 games? I'll give them 6 games. What you think?
Um, I mean, I think your assumption is good. Is not bad, right? I don't think that it's a. I don't think those two. I like it's not out of the realm. I can see the argument for those two teams. Um, so if you think Warriors and Denver go to the Western Conference Finals, um, I can see why you like. I just don't believe it's like kind of like Tom Brady, man. Like you can't count him out, right? You can't count him out. You can't like you believe what you see, and you can't believe what you haven't seen, right? I have not seen Jokic sustain his level of play against the Warriors on a consistent level that actually this is what it is. I just don't think Denver plays good enough defense. I think Denver does a great job of scoring and putting the pressure on the Warriors, but when the time comes, the Warriors are able to hit big shots down the stretch. And I think that that's what happens in the playoffs. And I think if those two teams meet in the Western Conference Finals, I would give the Warriors a little bit of an edge, just because Steph and Clay and because Clay. Like if Clay wasn't playing as good as he's been playing, like Clay's playing the best couple months of basketball he's ever played, like
Yes.
ever. So I would give that to the, and I think Draymond neutralizes Jokic's impact to a certain extent. Um, but I think the thing that makes it hard for me is I don't know what this roster looks like yet, right? We don't know. Are we going to sign Lamb? Like, is
Right.
is G is GP2 going to be back? Like, is this a situation where we're banking on Ty Jerome to come in and give us minutes off the bench, or Is it going to be, like Kuminga playing heavy minutes? We know Moody's not going to play a lot, right? So I need to know what kind of Golden State Warriors team we're going to have before I can call them against Denver. But I think out of the West, I'm only reason why I always lean, like, I'm a fan, right? So I lean Warriors because I just like their chances in the playoffs, right? Like, I think that their problems that they've had this season, being on the road and on defense, is an effort problem. I don't think it's a problem of they're just not good enough to do
Mm.
things, because we've seen spots of great, and being a younger team this time, in the sense that we have new players in Ty Jerome, Jermichael Green, and then the other thing too is, like, our biggest problem is the middle, right? Like, as a big man, right? And so the fact that I think that Draymond can neutralize Jokic means that I think the Warriors would make it to the Western Conference Finals. Now, the thing that I would say that the Warriors, in a situation where the Warriors don't make it, is I don't think the Warriors can mess with the Suns. Like, as much as I think that the Warriors have a little bit more depth and a little bit more shooting firepower when it comes to, like, everybody 1 through, like, 8 in the rotation, 1 through 9 in the rotation, I think that DeAndre Ayton is going to eat us alive, right? Like, we don't have, like, Looney can't guard Ayton,
I
Draymond
know.
can't guard, and like, if we play, Draymond's gonna have to guard KD, right? Like that, like, that's the best bet we have. Draymond or Wiggins on KD, and let's be honest, KD's cooking either of them, right? Like, it's just happening. So I just, yeah, I think the thing that keeps the Warriors from making it to the finals is the Suns, right? Like, that's the only team I would see. Um, but I would agree with you. Like, I think that the Nuggets are my favorite to make it out the West, right? I just don't see them. I don't know if the Warriors are able to play good enough defense if they have to travel somewhere far away. So if they can get the Kings in the first round and they can get rolling, I think we're good. They'll make it to the Western Conference Finals, and I think they'll make it all the way. If they get to the Western Conference Finals, I'm taking the Warriors out of the West. But I would say that my favorite, like, based on, like, what I've seen this season, is the Nuggets just look far and ahead better than everybody else in the West Coast. They look like the better team. So I would agree with that. On the East, I don't have the Celtics. I have the Bucks. The Bucks look the best to me. Look like the most complete team. They went shot for shot with the Warriors last night, and they did that without Giannis Antetokounmpo. Granted, the Warriors didn't have Wiggins, but Wiggins hasn't been great this year, so I don't know what Wiggins would have offered. Um, so I would say finals prediction for me would be Nuggets or Warriors, one of those two, and then I would say the Bucks. I just think Bucks are most complete team. You got Lopez, defensive player of the year probably. You got way more depth on the bench for the Bucks than they've had in the past. You got Grayson Allen, who has that grit. Um, you know, we talked about Dre Crowder, right? Like, he can come off, he can guard somebody, he can. Because I think, like, especially like in the finals, right? Like in the Western Conference or East Conference Finals, you're gonna probably have, I would say, the Celtics and the Bucks too, right? But now you got 3, 4 guys you can throw at Tatum and Brown, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't think the Bucks or the Celtics are good enough as presently constructed. I don't think that Tatum and Jalen Brown can coexist on a championship team. I just They've gotten there, and they've gotten close, but I think that in order for both of them to be better, they need to be apart.
Oh, that was a hot take right there. But look, we're gonna have to change it up a bit. We talked about all these superstars. We talked about all stars. We talked about stars, borderline stars. We're gonna talk about the race for MVP right now. I don't know about you, but I think this is just a three-player race. But you still got to talk about the five, right? So at one, you got Jokic, you got Embiid ranked second, you got Giannis at the third rank, Tatum's at four, and Luca's five. To me, I don't see how many years straight has Jokic won the MVP?
This will be
That
third. This will be
I don't
so
see it.
two.
I just feel even though he's averaging a triple double, well, let's not deny the guy's greatness. I just don't see the NBA counting him off of some politics reasons, not because of performance reasons, but I feel the MVP is going to end up being Luca. I really do, or Embiid, one of the two. But I just feel they're not going to give it him for a third chance, even though I understand as an NBA fan that he deserves it. Like a big averaging a triple double. That's how many bigs average a triple double like a whole season. That's the thing that's crazy about it. If he does, I mean, 3 years in a row, that solidifies why I think he goes to the finals. But I really think they're gonna lean towards Luca or Embiid. What about you?
So when I do this, the thing like I feel like the way that the NBA tends to look at this more than often is who's the best team in the league, and
Yeah,
then is the best player on the best team in the league in the race, and if so, then that's the guy, right? But I get what you're saying, especially because he just has a high usage. Like, and Jokic has all these. If you remember when any point guard who played for D'Antoni was um was like an MVP caliber player, right? Like his usage was so high that everything. You still there?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. There was a time, yeah, when like anybody who played for D'Antoni usage was like just so high that they were just really good. They had incredible numbers. Jeremy Lin played for him for the Knicks, and he had great numbers. Then D'Antoni goes over to the Rockets, and then remember that's how Harden ends up getting his MVP, right? So I think that's the thing about Jokic. I think Jokic has such high usage, like the ball goes through him so much, and that he affects. I don't think he affects winning and losing as much as like Joel Embiid does, right? Like so, like we say it's a three-headed race. Probably like Embiid. If it was me, the order I would give it in is I would probably say that um, I'd probably go Giannis, man. I like Giannis more than I like the other two. And the only reason why he's not going to get it is because he's been hurt, in my opinion, right? And that's like the same reason why Embiid probably won't get it is because Jokic actually plays. I don't know how many games Jokic has missed compared to the other guys, but we've known, and like Giannis is typically a Iron Man, right? Like he usually plays through everything, but he's been banged up. Embiid is just out so often, right? Like back 3 games here, 4 games there. But if you look at the stats, right, like for me, head to head, Embiid versus Jokic, I like Embiid's number better. I like 33.3 points per game, 10.1 rebounds per game, 4.1 assists. Like 33 points a game at his size, right? Like that dude's cooking, man. Like Jokic may be off like averaging a double double, but he's 9 points less. He's only averaging 24.3 points a game. Like that's less him like imposing his will on the game, in my opinion, right? And Joel Embiid's just been dominant. And then to me, like the reason why I go with Giannis is just because he's almost averaging 12 rebounds a game and almost 6 assists. Like I think there's nobody that puts his team like nobody's so consistent like at scoring and just doing a little bit of everything. And then like no ego, right? Like the thing with I like about Giannis is that it's just he's just going out the hoop, man. He's going out the ball. He's just trying to beat the best. He's trying to be the best. And I feel like Embiid sometimes he lets his kind of antics get in the way of how good he is as a player. And that's probably what holds him back from getting the MVP over Jokic most of the time. But that in the record, right? Like Jokic got the best record in NBA, so they're gonna rock with that team because he's the most valuable player on the most important team.
Yo, so for me, right, when I caveat off of what you're saying, it comes down to why did Westbrook get the MVP that season when they weren't first place? Was because he did something that no one else has done, which is get a triple double. And I'm waiting for him to re-download into this. We're talking about Westbrook getting a triple double that was big, right? Averaging that throughout a whole 82 game season. And they weren't even first place. They were even second or third place, right? But they awarded him because of it. We're talking about Nikola Jokic averaging 24.3 points per game, 11.8, so almost 12, and 10 assists per game as a big man. Never been heard of, right? That's the thing. And they're first place. That's the thing that struggles with me is because I always think as a fan and also as a businessman, like why would I award him 3 times? But it's deserving. And then if you look at Luca, averaging 33, 8 and 8, almost 9 and 8, damn near a triple double. That's another reason. But you said it for Giannis and Embiid was just being injury prone. Jason Tatum, it's a good thing that you're in talks. That's about all you're gonna get. But for me, it's like how do you deny Nikola Jokic a triple double and first place when Westbrook got a triple double and was like sixth place, you know?
To me, it's because it's how you get the stats, right? And so, I think Westbrook broke like kicked open the door, and like it was such like the way the media played it. The first thing too is like when we think about this, right? You know who votes on this, right? It's the media, right? Like
Yeah.
the people who make this decision, who actually put in the votes to decide who the winner is. It's all media folks, right? Like people who cover the NBA, who are, um, who are offered the opportunity to vote. They're given a vote. So as much as we want to say that there's no bias in this, you got to think about what people are writing about. Like you got to think about the narrative of the season,
Hmm.
and the narrative of the season, especially for Jokic, right, is how tough the West is, how close the West is, right. And so, in some people's minds, I think Jokic has kept the Denver Nuggets so far above and beyond everybody else that that's what puts him over the top. Um, but I think that's also what played a part in why Westbrook got what he got, was because he not only did he do it, he did it as a guard, right? Like a guard who jumps up there and gets 10 rebounds a game, right? Like, and we all know he was stat chasing, bro. Like, that whole
Yeah.
season, he was trying to make the most. He was stealing rebounds. But the reason to me why, like when I watch Jokic play, and the reason why I'm not saying I deny it, but I discount a little bit is I've seen him do it for the last 2 years, right? So like it's almost like LeBron, right? Like you kind of move the goalposts a little bit, right? Like you kind of say like, all right, you've done this. I've seen you play like this for the last 3 years straight. That doesn't tell me that you're the most valuable player. It tells me that you're consistent. It tells me you are good. You know what I'm saying? But to me, average NBA score is about 115 points a game, right? Jokic is averaging 24.3, right? That's a little less than that's less than a quarter of the points, right, per game that you score. Then you got 10 assists probably, right? So that's another 20 points. So that's about maybe a little less than 40%, right, of average score that you're actually impacting, right? So to me, the fact that you can get over 30 points a game, like that is more of a feat than the triple double to me. Like averaging close to 35 points a game, that is more of a feat. Like on a day in, day out basis, I think Jokic getting 24, 11, and 10 is easier for him than it is for a player to go out and get 33 and 11, 31 and 12, right? Like I think those numbers just stand out more to me. Um, and it's just dominance to me, right? Like when you watch Jokic do it, he's just not a dominant, he's just not a force in like, and he's got the last 2 seasons to me, right? Like he's been as good as he is now as he's been the last 2 seasons. And I feel like Embiid stepped it up. I feel like Giannis has stepped it up. And I feel like they're just more dominant. And so they deserve more of a head nod in the MVP race.
Luca kind of fits that narrative of what you just took too, though. 33, 8.6, and 8.
Defense matters to me,
It
and like the
does.
fact
It
that Luca
does.
doesn't. Yeah, like I just the fact that Luca doesn't play on both ends of the court. Um, like he needs to. And like this season has just been such a weird season because so many players are averaging high points per game. So like I think in an average year, if there wasn't so many players averaging close to 30 a game, then yeah, Luca averaging 33 a game and 8 and 8 would be more stand out more. But his team's just not winning consistently enough for you to think about him as an MVP.
Yeah. I could say like that. like for me, my prediction. So give me your prediction before I close this up. My prediction: Luca does win the MVP this year.
You think Luca comes in and takes it?
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think Jokic wins it again, man. I think the narrative has already been kind of set out there by the media that they think that Jokic is the best player. I think that they think that Embiid makes strides here and there, but I think the fact that the Sixers are so far in the East just keeps Embiid from getting the ability to let me look at the standings. I'm just trying to think if the standings were uh, how far the is Philly? Like if Philly can get into second place, like because they're not that far from behind the Celtics, right? Like if they can make a push these last games down the stretch, then I think that they'd be in a better place to get and beat the MVP. But I think Jokic just being on the best team with the best record, and not even the best record, right? Like Giannis has the best record, so maybe, yeah. My prediction's Jokic, though. I feel like when I watch the media that I watch and I read the articles I read, I feel like the narrative has already been painted for Jokic to get it again for a third time.
What a way to cap off this Pro Hop episode, probably 3. I gotta look at it again. Again, I haven't been using my basketball one, but I know my brother is always clear. His schedule's clear on Sundays, so I can always depend on him to come on here. Devin, man, I wish he was here. Devin, you'll meet him. Is the NBA guy. Like he is a nerd. This guy will sit here and watch every game like every day, and we'll dissect it. So I'm looking forward to seeing you two talk to each other because you guys have similar IQs, and I want to see how y'all go about it. He doesn't do Facebook or anything, so that's why you don't see him on the Pro Hop chat. But I need this channel to get live because my baseball one's going crazy because the World Classics and all that, and baseball season started. Wrestling's always been good for me. Football's always been good for me. But look, brother, it was an honor for you to be here. I hope this ain't the last time I see you. And then
No,
I need you to do me a favor because once I edit this, I can't be on Facebook or anything, so I need you to share it. Okay? Until
got
Easter.
you.
It's until Easter. So, bro, say hello to Junior. Say hello to Heidi and all the people over there. Love you, bro, and I'll talk to you later.
Love you too, man. Send my love to the family. Good shit.
All
Appreciate
right.
you.